Hi everybody, it's Lisa. Thanks for joining me today and welcome to my computer. Many of you may have seen this beautiful quilt on Sew Yeah's website under the title, Can I Create a New Quilt Pattern in 1 Hour? And I didn't care so much about the quilt that they were constructing, but I and many others was captivated by the quilt behind him, this beautiful red and white quilt. And they do offer it as part of their subscription box. Many people asked about the pattern, but I'm not going to give you the pattern, but I'm going to give you some clues on how you can figure out how to make a quilt like this or be inspired and create your own design. And I'm also going to show you what I came up with as my design from being inspired by this beautiful quilt. So I basically took a screen clipping and I'm going to want to draw some arrows. So we get an arrow that I'm happy with. I'll use this yellow arrow. So this particular quilt has basically 2 blocks, and it's based on a basically on a 9 patch. So these are the 9 patches that we have. We have this one here, and this is basically a square here, a square up here, and then 4 patch squares on either end, and then a square on either side. So it's going to be a red square, a white square, and a red square, and then 4 patches. So do you see that? So it's essentially it's just a 9 patch in this rendition here. So look at this one. 4 patch, middle patch, flanking patch, 4 patch, single patch, 4 patch, and a middle. All right. The middle star is also a 9 patch, and it's made up of a square with a 1 corner gone, 2 flying geese in the obverse. So let's just kind of move this out of the, whoops, I'm a little, see if I can move that. All right, so I'm going to move this out of the way. So this is a flying goose that has a white goose, red sky, and over top of it is a red goose and white sky, and it makes this particular thing here. And there's other ways that you could make this. You could make this in this fabric and do a clipped corner and do 2 of them together, but I think a flying goose makes the most sense in this. The middle square is also just a plain old square, but you can see how this is put together. So it's 4 of these clipped corners, 2 flying geese. Again, they are half as tall as they are wide, so when you put 2 of them together, it's always a square. And so you can see how easily that this can come together. So basically, if you can do flying geese, do a clipped corner, and do some 4 patches, you can make this quilt pretty easily. And it's a lot of pieces, to be sure. Now, I really like this pattern a lot, but I didn't like this big old clunky white for the most part. So I decided that I would see if I could make something of my own. Let me show you what I did. Now, I'm not making any claims that the quilt that I am doing is any better or worse than the one that we saw, but rather to show you how you can be inspired to make a quilt from something that you see that includes these elements. So I used my EQ8, which is what you see here on the right, and came up with my take on this particular quilt. So I'm going to close this and then make my EQ8 higher, or larger rather. Now in this particular rendition of the quilt, I made my blocks at 10 inches, and then I essentially put a border around them, and I made my squares smaller. And I like this fine, but I wanted to do a little something with this block here, so I tried something a little bit different. In this rendition, I opted to do a square and a square here, and did the solid for the sawtooth star, and it was still probably a little bit more red in it than I wanted, but I was kind of getting to the I know it when I see it area for this. So let me show you the next one that I did. So in this particular rendition, I opted to add another layer of complexity to this block here, which is a square and a square and a square. And then I left the sawtooth star the same, and I didn't really like the way these two look. This looked too heavy in having this, so I opted for yet another design change. And in this rendition, the design change that I opted for was to put the obverse of this into my sawtooth star, and I was very, very happy with how this ended up. Now this was a lot of piecing, and the other thing that I want to talk about is how I elected to do this. So it's much different than the Sew Yeah quilt, because I'm not using big blocks. I basically used a 10-inch block, which is my this block here is a 10-inch block, and hopefully you can see. Let me see if I can make this larger so that you can see. Whoops. I don't have a really good way to point here, so hopefully you can follow my cursor. So this is a 10-inch block right here, and it's an uneven 9 patch. I have a 5-inch economy block in the center. I have a 2.5-inch finished 4-patch here, and a 2.5 by 5-inch block rectangle here, and then same with the 4 patches. So that's what this is. And it's really pretty easy to make, and I fashioned all of my interiors the same very quickly, and then I just cut out, these particular pieces, and I like the square that it, the secondary pattern that it creates. Now let's move over here to the sawtooth star. So the sawtooth star is essentially this square and a square and a square, and then I have a flying goose up here. That's just the flying goose, white goose, red sky, and then I've got a half square triangle here. And then I basically treated these 4 patches, as you can see, I treated them basically like sashing. All right, can you see that? So the complete unit is this sashing that's repeated across across these blocks. which gives the extra dimensionality. So that's how I elected to do that. And the So Yeah, this would have been a little bit different. I won't highlight the differences. My brain is taxed enough on this, but I was like very happy with how this is coming together, and I had some really beautiful fabric that I had bought at discount on closeout at Hancock's of Paducah, and I'm doing this in a red with a cream colored background, as well as I have some really pretty fabric that's got cream with some gold metallic. So I think it's going to turn out really pretty, and I'm going to certainly share that with you. And so here we go from inspiration to the finished product that I will be executing. And as I go through making this quilt, I'm going to show you what I consider some time-saving tips, because this is a ton of piecing. Whichever one of these quilts that you make, there's a lot of piecing to be done. And I discovered some shortcuts that I'll want to share with you. Most particularly, just a few highlights, because I have a bunch of half square triangles. I use the Magic 8 method, and I will be demonstrating that for you. Plenty of other people do that, but I think I'll show you how I like to do it, and how I use glue basting to help with the phasing and sewing to help save time and really optimize little snippets of time. I also want to show you a method that I use to make the 4 patches, which help them turn out very accurately. And I'm going to show you my no waste flying goose method, but because I use glue basting, I'm going to show you something unorthodox that I do that may surprise you, and it might be something that you want to try. So anyway, there you have it. Hope that gives you some insights and hopefully some inspiration for something that you might want to do. As always, I appreciate your spending time with me, and I hope that you're working on something that brings you joy. Check back with me again to see what's on my computer screen or on my design wall, or some other rant or rambling that I might have. Thanks again. See you soon.